I was from a very lively town. Columbus was lively. Mount Vernon was all the way live. And we kids, when we went to school, we'd go up Mount Vernon. We used to sit on the sidewalk and watch the people go by. Because the people on Mount Vernon would be dressed up in their finest. Sometimes we go over to Long Street, and they were showing up dressed over there. You couldn't go in the Lincoln Theater unless you were dressed.
Yep, and Lee's Style Shop, we stayed in there a lot. And the clothes and the newest thing that came out, you know, and it was a store, Lee's, that we could afford to buy. Some of the things that we saw on television.
Mr. Lee.
Yeah, Mr. Lee. Oh my goodness. Mr. Lee, that was a song. And the old cars. You didn't see too many wrecks back then, but if you take one of those cars and hit one of those, it would bend it all to pieces. They don't even make stuff like they used to that last. We had things that last.
We had access to the entire East Side community. We talk about Long Street, Fifth Avenue, Cleveland Avenue, East Broad Street, Nelson Road. That was the community that we considered the community growing up. That pretty good size, but there wasn't no forbidden to this where you can't go over there. Yeah, kids is kids. But we lived in that entire area and utilized all of it through businesses, churches, recreation centers. Mount Vernon, we utilized the community, and so our family was kind of dynamic because I come from an entrepreneurial family. At my birth, my father had his own company. He had the bowling alley. He did pretty much at night. He managed that at night. He had a construction company, which he pretty much did in the daytime. My mom was a homemaker, housewife, only when she was kind of like had to be. That might have been maybe child time, but other than that, my mom was always entrepreneurial. She was always doing something to have her own money.
If it wasn't for my mom, man, because my dad wasn't there and a man wasn't in the house, man, I wouldn't know what kind of person I'd be today, man. But my mom kept the family together, man. She used to get on 2 trains to go out and wash white folks' floors and they laundry and clean their house, man, for $25, bro. Come back home, ride them 2 trains and them 3 buses, man, to come back to us to fix us dinner. Sure that we got a roof over our head.
You ain't satisfied or proud of nothing we done. I mean that you had a home and that we kept you out of trouble till you was grown and that you don't have to ride to work on the back of nobody's streetcar. You're my children, but how different we've become.
Black people don't catch on to what their parents did. They want to create their own thing and they end up not creating anything. Like I've been in t-shirt business since 1976, and my son has never had anything to do with the t-shirt business. He don't have anything to do with it. He don't ever want to help me silk screen his shirts. He don't want to help me sell them. All he wants is the money. They don't want to do anything. They don't have the initiative to try to do things on their own, to be self-employed. They want to do something that they can help somebody else to make more money than them. Because if you make your own money, you're your own boss.
I take this stuff apart, and after I get done what I'm doing, after my little cart fills up, see these stuff right here? See, this is money. Circuit board, what they collect. And they collect it and all that, they take it back to the recycle place and recycle and reuse them. Which part they can use it. So what I do is, I break the stuff down. Well, they don't gotta do it. It's a choice and matter if I want to get up in the morning to have something or have nothing. Nothing. So I do this to have something. I was born Southfield.
Okay.
Okay, when I moved out here, I was age of 6 or 7.
Okay.
Then I lived out here ever since then. I used to live off of Chinley Avenue, across the track, in that village. Been there for 50 years. On this side of the track on Cleveland Avenue, it's always been like this. Never changed, haven't changed. Not had changed from the 70s until now. Still hasn't changed. Only thing that changed was the faces. That's it. And some of the faces you don't see because they dead.
Police just confirmed with me that 2 people were found inside of this white home who were shot to death. There was 1 male and 1 female, both adults. Investigators say a mailman delivering mail noticed something on the porch of that home, that something bad may have happened inside.
The crime last summer seemed almost unthinkable. 4 victims forced to the basement of a home on Hudson Street near Cleveland Avenue, where they were ordered to lie on the floor before being shot in the head.
Colleen, we do know the identity of the 2 men that were found shot inside of this apartment building. I'm going to step out so you guys can see the scene right now. Columbus police are still on the scene investigating that apartment that you guys are looking at. But as far as the victims, police say last night neighbors heard glass breaking and other noises. When they arrived on scene, they found 2 men dead inside from gunshot wounds.
Now they got these cars. Don't want to make it a laughing moment. They made these cars like horses, like in the cowboy days. Shoot out the cars, shoot on the horse. Come on, what kind of sense in that? And one of the ladies just got shot, innocent bystander. I got a bullet glaze from me and her bystander. I thank God I lived to see to tell you about it. But it's too much. It's too much. It ain't what you're doing tomorrow. It ain't what you're doing the next day. It's what you're doing now. If you stall right now, you get laziness and everything pops up. I don't have this, I don't have that. Then they want to go out there and steal, rob, do whatever they got to do to make the extra dollar. And that's sad. Why they can't do what I do? I don't got to do it. But I chose to do that. I could just walk around my neighborhood to exercise my legs if I want to, but I chose this to show what young folks, there's always something to do. The only way to change is the young folks. If the government go ahead and get the things, recreation centers like they had for me when I was young, at the age of 12 years old, I didn't know nothing about violence. The only thing I knew was work, and go home. Get right back up and go work. Ever since they stopped recreation centers for these young folks, it had turned into violence, because they don't have nothing to do. So when I go to the polls, every time I see it, I vote for it. For the violence, shooting, all that to stop. It won't stop, don't get me wrong. It ain't gonna stop, but it'll slow itself down.
This story about this horrible case in Ohio where a 13-year-old boy, a black boy, is dead, shot by a white police officer after he pulled out a pellet gun that looked like a real weapon.
I hope this young man's tragic death, I hope it's a wake-up call for everybody in his age group, above and below. I hope it's a wake-up call to let everybody know how important life is.
Now, he had a BB gun, which is always a problem. I don't care, it's too much like a gun. But what gets me is 2 days before this incident, not in Columbus, but in another state, a grown man was apprehended with a gun and was pointing it at police officers. They tased him. A Caucasian man, grown man, they tased him. Columbus, Ohio, they murdered a 13-year-old boy. Why didn't they tase him? Opportunity? I don't know. They haven't even tried to let the public know or give them an understanding. And it's the first time in Columbus, but the second time in Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio. We had the same situation, which was more sinister. They roll up on a young boy at a playground where you should be able to have a gun at. Okay? What in the hell is a playground for if you can't play?
It really hurt my feelings that someone who's 13 years old is not here anymore just because of a poor decision on both sides, really. Being connected to a community or being connected to people in general, you have to find a common ground and connection. I believe that having relationships and building relationships with people help us overcome boundaries and bridges and gaps and things like that. So I'm always a person, I want to talk about it before we get to a point where we're pointing guns at each other and killing each other.
I hope it gets better for our black community, that I know what it is. But the only thing I can do is pray on.
So my name is Al Obayuwana. I'm the District Executive Director for the YMCA Central Ohio. How are you doing today? Good. So I oversee the Hilltop Community Y on the west side, and I oversee the Eldon and Elsie Ward YMCA here on the Near East side. So how's it going? All right. So this is our main gym here. And it's in the middle of the day, so our kids aren't here yet. But normally, this would be filled with our youth and kids in here in our after-school program. We have three areas of focus that the YMCA has: youth development, healthy living, and social responsibility. Program-wise, specifically here at this Y around youth development, we do teen basketball leagues, we do Leaders Club, we do youth in government, do after-school programming. We're getting ready to ramp up for summer camp here, as well as teen camp. In a couple hours, it'll be run with youth and kids in here playing. I think these are some of our older guys, kids that may be out of school in here now. So, but this is, great. Basketball. A lot of people don't know the YMCA invented basketball. They invented basketball and volleyball. So, these are two staples of ours that we do with youth sports. I think the other cool thing about any of the sports we do, whether it's basketball, volleyball, soccer, is that I feel the Y really is uniquely positioned to use that as a hook. So that may be the hook we use to get a kid in to teach them basketball or play in a basketball league. But really what we should be teaching is our core values of caring, honesty, respect, and responsibility. We should be teaching that child teamwork. We should be teaching them how to raise their self-esteem, how to work within a group, how to win and lose gracefully, and that there's lessons in both of those. So a lot of our kids will come, or parents will sign them up just for a basketball league or a soccer league or something, but hopefully they leave with a little bit more than that, some life lessons they can take with them. So this is, in fact, you just missed, they do badminton in here Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Steady group of people that have been playing here for years, and we also do pickleball in here now. So Tuesday, Thursday from 12 to 2. That big for 2-on-2, that's the middle right there. And you just played with the wiffle ball. Yep. As we like to call them, our active older adults. While they are important at all of our Ys, and we understand the value in that, I think because of the uniqueness of this community and how this Y came about, we have a lot more older active adults that come here. I think we have some instructors that have been here for a long time and have really nourished and built up their classes as well as I think just in our community in general. Elders, we do see the wisdom in them, so I think they enjoy coming and speaking to some of the other members and seeing their classmates and things like that.
No more mom and pop shops, the Carl Browns, where people spoke to one another in the morning. When you walk into one of those businesses, they don't even know you, We have a lot of vacant structures in our neighborhood, so I think affordable housing, the educational system, I think if we had quality schools, it'd be a huge draw to this area. I think that also some of the structures, like the commercial structures up and down Cleveland Avenue, create a very vibrant corridor because, there's so many people drive up and down Cleveland Avenue. It's a thoroughfare, straight up going to Westerville, up to Dublin. Even when they're going to work, they're going straight downtown. So I think that if we create something, I think the people will come. So I like to see some things change in our communities and start to see more commercial folks come back down, or just to kind of open up either another grocery store. One of the big negative things that we don't have a grocery store down here. And we got a bunch of bodegas selling 40 ounces and blunt wraps down. And so the sad part about it, we have a huge immigrant population of folks who are doing good business and good with our people who really don't even, and these people don't really understand our cultural values, or the cultural dynamics of this particular part of the community. So they kind of cater to the negative social, if you will, whatever the media kind of projects about the negatives of what black folks like. So, you can go into a bodega in our neighborhood. It's like a one-stop, one-shop. You can get your blunt wrap and your sneakers. You can get your gold chains and your grill. You can also get paraphernalia, get your Alizé or your drink, and you out the door. You can get a whole outfit. So it's, I think they've had a real negative impact on our community. So if you've got an abandoned building and people don't cut their grass, nobody cares, alcoholism, drugs in your family, look at your community. Prostitutes walking all up and down the street, crackheads in your family, dope fiends, alcoholics, people don't care. Hey, why all day I got to see you all night? All day, all night.
Oh no.
Ain't you tired of getting high and just...
I don't get high every time I do it.
What you doing?
I save my money.
What you do with your money?
Stash.
And then what?
And sometimes I smoke, sometimes I don't.
When you just gonna stop? Just a reflection of what's happening in your community. So we just got to change that, put more love and beauty in, clean it up, build some gardens, show some attention to your community, embrace it. Then you embrace your family.
If you disrespect everybody that you run into, yeah. How in the world do you think everybody's supposed to respect you? Help me, y'all. If you don't give a heck about the man with the Bible in his hand, y'all, just get out the way and let the gentleman do his thing. You the kind of gentleman that want everything your way. Yeah. Take the sheet off your face, boy. It's a brand new day. Respect yourself. Da, 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 da. Respect yourself. Respect yourself. Da, 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 yeah. Da. Respect yourself. If you don't respect yourself, ain't nobody gonna give a good good. Na na na, brother Rush.
Well, we got to get back to basically prayer. We need to start the church first. That's where, the ground and the root is.
We've got to start trusting each other, leaving the substance that they're messing with, leave all those dope things alone and get some sense, because that dope is not where it's at.
Right.
The dope is causing them to think like they think, along with the fact that they don't have, a lot of them don't have fathers at home. They have one parent or no parents.
Right.
And so they grow up without any foundation. They don't go to church. We all went to church.
Right.
In the 50s, we all went to church. We didn't, even if you drank your heart out, you'd be in Sunday morning, you'd be in church.
Right.
Yeah, that's where it was.
So going up Cleveland Avenue, so that's the first church. You know, passing here on Chittenden, you know. So we got a small church right here, which is the Mount Victory. Right there, there's another church, which is, I forget the name of that one. This one here is Traveler's Rest. Now there's within, what, 1 block, that's 3 churches right there alone. All right, so we got 3 we done passed. Then you get down here towards 15. If there's one thing you immediately notice about an area like Linden, it's how many churches there are. For a community that's sorely in need of small businesses that can create jobs and access to fresh food for the people to eat, the main strip, Cleveland Avenue, is filled with churches. It begs the question, do we really need all these churches? And where are all the small businesses? Which is a church right here. We got New Journey, which is next to that one. We got church right there, which is an outreach. We have a church right here, which is the Workers of Something God. Coming soon is a Baptist church right here on 20th. Got a church right here, which is Living Water. So how many we got so far there? Is that, I lost count somewhere. So when we get to 22nd, you know, on Cleveland Avenue, my question is, do we need, then we got this one, which is the Crack House Ministries. Next to that, we got the Mount Zion Church, and so we're on 24. How many is that so far? 12, 13. We got the church right here. We got Bethel AME Church, which is right here on 26, and then right across here is the Sound Doctrine Baptist Church. Then we got the small church, which is, it's called, it's a New Era Academy. Then we got the Elevation Church. All right, so in this little corner, we got to count real quick, because we got New Walk to the left on Myrtle Avenue. So real quick, we got New Walk to the left. We got Ebenezer Haitian Church right here. Then in the back there, there's Victory Deliverance to the rear. Then right next to the Liberated Sabbath Mission. And then right next to that is a mosque. Then we got the Biblical Theology. And then we got the Chapel of Peace, in which they have a church that runs in there. Then there's a church that runs into this little building here. And then we got another mosque right here on Cleveland Avenue. And you would think that these guys are in the life-saving ministry. You know, half of them should be brought up on malpractice charges, man. They dying on Cleveland Avenue, man, left and right. You can't have a healthy community if the family is not real healthy. It's the ecology of it. The family and the people in the community, they get from the community, if you will. You know what I mean? The community gets from the people. So it's a give and take kind of process. Where people should support the church. You know, the people that go to the church are the business owners and the residents in the community. The business owners and the residents in the community give back to the church. The church is giving them something to help in their spirit of how things are. When the business owners meet people in the church, they get a chance to meet some of the consumers. The consumers go back and invest money back into the businesses. So it's a healthy cycle. We know we bank our money in the local banks. We put our monies into our local schools by paying taxes. So it seems like that responsibility to the community has fallen. Thus, our families have fallen. So we have, we look at our communities in a very negative way. And so if you look at your community in a negative way, then you're looking at your own family in a negative way. We're a reflection of that community. So if the community in disarray and abandoned, that's what's happening in our families. Listen, man, we got an abandoned building here. Across the street, there's two. We have the house here. Then there's the house right here. This is, the community, the testimony of what's happening in our families, The process, the properties, the emptiness, the abandonment, the loneliness. If you think about that, that's what's happening with our families, man. They're like these structures, abandoned. When does it stop?
I have some pictures of when I was younger. I used to film. With them 8mm cameras?
Yeah.
Projectors. I do things to satisfy my own way of life. I was married for 47 years, and my wife worked some of the time. Sometimes she didn't. But when she didn't, I took care. It was my responsibility, like my daddy did, where I was raised. A man is the head of the household. He take care of his own responsibilities. Take care of the house first and your family. And he taught me, all of us, that family is more important than anything else. So don't do anything to disrupt it, and don't let anything disrupt your family. So that family life is the most important thing to me in my life, and even now.
Back in the day, people took marriage more seriously. They took their vows more seriously. And when they made that commitment, there was pressure, internal pressure and external pressure to maintain that. I don't think there is that kind of pressure on people now to maintain marriage if it's not a good thing for them. Sometimes there's a negative situation, and then sometimes, people just don't take it as seriously, which is unfortunate. I think oftentimes there are things that could be worked through, that should be worked through. We live in a society that historically black men have had so many barriers to being the breadwinner. I think that is what occurred first, is where you have the dynamic of not being able to have the resources, whether it be education, whether it be opportunity to get certain jobs in certain positions, where you're living in a situation where, you kind of went from slavery to putting black men in the criminal justice system. So I think that would be the first occurrence prior to women's liberation and women saying, oh, we can do it ourselves. I think there was the removal of men, not by black women, but of other systems that were in place.
Anytime there's a statistic to do with the black community, specifically black women and single parenting, I'm always skeptical. And that's because how do you define a single parent? Is there a shared custody agreement? Is the father visiting the children? Are they away half the time? I think sometimes when we define single parenthood, it needs to be accurate. So does that stat tell us, how often those children in that single parent home are seeing their father or seeing their mother? How much of that time is that single parent actually parenting alone?
Right, which is true.
And I think that narrative actually gives black fathers a bad name, because we know that the narrative of black fathers is that they're really not there, but people who know black men being fathers know that that's not true.
It's really about putting people in healthy situations. So even a stat like that, like I was saying before, you might have a stat that says not a lot of single parents, but you might have a lot more marriages on the book. But you might also, I have no research behind this, but you might also see that somebody was married 50 years, but dad was stepping out every night. So the stats don't tell you that. The stats don't tell you that, grandma was getting beat every other night, because two people were in a situation that they didn't want to be in.
Right, so would you sacrifice that type of situation just to say we're married?
Yeah.
You know?
And I just think now people have opted more so. I think if you split up that pie, you might have one slice that's like people just not stepping up to the plate. And then you got another slice where, you know, maybe women are feeling more independent. Like I know several people that's like, I have a baby, I don't even need a dude. Like I just need a dude to donate. You know what I'm saying? And I'm fully good with just raising this child. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying I agree with that. I'm just saying how you slice the pie up. Back to my original statement, no matter how you're getting there, I still don't think it's positive, right? I think, you know, it's positive to have more education around healthy relationships, what they look like, what they feel like, what they're supposed to be like, have more education around that, you know what I'm saying? And then you can start to try to produce that.
My daddy once told me, he said, a woman will give up her life for her child if it's an accident involved and she can save the child. And he said a man should do the same thing because your family is your life. It's your whole ball of wax, everything. I'm a type of person where I try to do everything I can for somebody else. I never look for anything for myself. I'm a humble person, and I help more people than I do to help myself. My mother was from Augusta, Georgia. She was raised on a farm, just about everybody in the South then was raised on a farm. My father was, she had 2 sisters and a brother. My father was born and raised in Yatesville, Georgia. He had a grandmother and grandfather. He never had a sister and a brother. He lived on a farm. But their lives was similar to the life that I lived when I used to go to the country all the time, because I went to the country for 11 or 12 years every year. And what it taught me was how food is grown, how you plant it, how you harvest it. And it lets me know that I know the country and I know the city, because I've been in Atlanta all the year, and then I go to the country for 3 months. But country to us, me and my brothers, was fun, because you could just go out and just run anywhere you want to go, do whatever you want to do. If you want a watermelon, go out to the patch and just pick one up. You want sweet potato, you dig up the ground and put it and get it. You want some peanuts, you just pull them out the ground, wash them off and eat them.
Man, they don't do this anymore, man. See, older people, man, they do the urban farming, man. They do a backyard garden. Some folks don't know nothing about that. And then they go out and shovel shit. Me and this guy been shoveling shit for how long?
At least 10 years.
Yeah, me and this guy been shoveling shit for 10 years. We used to drive all the way out to
Delaware, Ohio, Grove City.
Yeah.
Wherever the ship was at.
Sure did.
This is my 51st year with a garden.
Wow. Look at that shit. Look at it, man. You playing this shit, man. Get on back, man.
It's on the shit, brother. It's on the shit. You can wash your hands off, man.
Man, please, let's stick it all up under your nail.
You ain't never worked on a farm, have you?
Man, come on, man.
This is pure shit here, buddy.
Man, you over there.
Sometimes I scare myself doing this.
I know you do, man.
Those are my irrigation water for irrigation of tanks up here. Mm-hmm. And the water come in there, and I got a bucket, and I water the garden with that water. We go fishing when it rains and cotton picking time, because you can't pick wet cotton. I used to pick a lot of cotton too. So when it rained, we would go fishing, and my grandmother would dig up the ground over where the worms might be, and she put down some cornmeal and water it. And as soon as the worms smell that cornmeal, they come up to the top, and we reach down there and we pick them up, and that's what we use to fish with. But I enjoyed that, and we used to go rabbit hunting with the boys in the area. We hunted rabbits with sticks and rocks. We just spread out and run a rabbit down till the rabbit can't even move no more, and we hit him in the head with a rock or stick, and we stay out there long enough for everybody to get a rabbit. So it taught us the importance of how food is. Like you ask children now, where does food come from? And the first thing they might say is Walmart or Kroger's. But it don't come from them, it comes from the earth. Because everything we eat comes from the earth or the water. That's the only way they recognize it. People don't know nothing about farming, they don't know a cabbage from a kale.
Hi, I'm Tress Augustine. I'm the program manager and summer youth coordinator for New Harvest Urban Arts Center's 4-H Linden Agribusiness Project. We started this project a few years ago, working with young people in the community, providing them access and opportunity to sustainable economic development through arts and agriculture. And so we have a wonderful garden, and we're going 6 years strong with our summer program. We have an amazing group of young people who are learning how to live their dream through urban agriculture, arts, and education. A lot of what we do is service-based learning. We want to beautify our community. The more pride that we have in our community, the more we can rep our hood. And so today the kids are doing a cute planting project. We're just doing random acts of kindness, planting flowers all through our garden, all up and down the Cleveland Avenue corridor, so this can be a more beautiful, inviting place to live, love, learn, and worship. I like the 60-second method, 60 seconds per plant. So count it out. When you plant something, it creates a lot of stress. And so for the first 3 to 5 days of your planting, you have to continue to hydrate and saturate your plant. It's like moving to a new neighborhood. You got to get involved in the neighborhood in order to become a part of it. And so we're going to drown these plants as best we can in the water, especially because it's going to be hot. And just like we sweat, plants sweat. So we got to make sure that we get them good in water. Say it again. Yeah, same. I mean, anything. It's shock. It's stress. When you remove something from one place to the other. All right, maybe 30, MJ.
Okay. Kill. Man, where you at? Hey man, you notice this piece was falling off the lawnmower? Through wear and tear, the boat tore through the aluminum. I think that's a small muffler. And so what I was trying to do is to create a washer on the end of this so that this thing won't go completely through. Then tighten it up because it appears that one of the screws broke off into the lawnmower. So unless I can get that out of there. That's like, yeah.
There is no second option. Like, there is no failure. You and mom have only instilled success. There's never been, but if you fail, this is what will happen. Like, if you fail, you're going to succeed. There is no, if this is the path you go down, this is what we'll do to fix it. It's always, this is the only path that you're going down.
Does it work?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So my father, he was never like really like affectionate. Like, you know, we didn't really like kiss or hug or anything like that. But he always showed that he was there for me, because he would, like, if he was doing something, he would want me to be over there trying to show me how to do it and whatnot. You know, he would always guide me through situations and whatnot. You know, I could go to him for things. He really liked to be more your friend, and my mom was more like the discipline, honestly. So my mom would be the one to whip you, but my dad, he would be the one to just tell you what you need to be doing, and that like you can't keep doing this, like you gotta fix it.
I was in the military, so you know my rites of passage was the military. Your rites of passage is college. You know, Kill's gonna go to college, and that's gonna be his rites of passage. You know, so I think every experience in terms of how you go through this process of understanding what life is all about, I think everybody has a different experience, you know. But today, we're kind of looking at what's happening. Chico, what are you doing? Look at this guy, man. about to jam you up, man. You're getting all riled up. Get rid of the dog, man.
Got a lot of family in Ohio, so I get to see them a lot. And I'm pretty much the only one with a father. I'm the only one that's had a father with them the whole life. So I could see the difference. I guess that it's much harder on the parents too. You can see the difference in everything. So, but just the people, when I used to live in like apartments, I feel like people, they didn't have dads, and just me and my friend, my best friend, we always had a dad. So I feel like we were more tame than them. I don't know like if that's accurate, but like we honestly were. And we were, I feel like we were doing better at school and everything, so. But then, like that bully, he's the guy, he honestly did only live with his mom and like his grandma or something, and he didn't have a dad. So he was just out doing what he saw on TV, I guess, so.
All right, so look, this is what we do, man. We bring out the gas grill. And I go to the store.
Do you have any vegetarian dishes?
He vegetarian now?
Yeah.
What the hell, man? I don't know what's going on with my son. When he go vegetarian?
I'm vegetarian.
Oh no, not Quahar.
When did you go vegetarian?
Like 5 months ago.
Your skin do look a little clear.
Yeah.
Really?
I'm a vegetarian. Yep.
So.
I can go get food, it's fine.
Oh no, we can hook you up, man. Put together a lettuce sandwich.
Who was the closest person that you lost in death, and what was the relationship?
My mother. My mother was, she was the rock in our family. She kept it together. She worked every day of her life. She would bring clothes. She was a maid, housemaid, and she would bring clothes home, used clothes, used shoes, because anything she brought, there was somebody in the house that could fit it. So she was the one that did all those things for us, and every day she would come home and she would stop at the 10-cent store, Kresge's or some of those places, and she would bring some cookies home for us, and we would see her coming up the sidewalk, and all of us run down the sidewalk to get the bag and get her packages, because we did everything we could for her, because she did everything for us, period. Day of her service, we come from the church, the burial site, and I grabbed my oldest daughter, and we walked about 10 or 12 blocks. I cried most of the way. It rained, it sleeted, and it snowed. But by the time we got back home, the sun was shining bright, and all this stuff had melted and went away. But it was the most saddest, dramatic time in my life was when my mother passed, because I was always the one in the family, like my older sister used to think that mother liked me better than I did the rest of them because I was lighter than they were. But that's not the reason, because later on, my sister told me this and she apologized to me. She said the reason mother liked you more, she did us a lot of times because she could depend on me.
With this age now, like I said, when they were growing up, I took a lot of photos. So one day I'm going to just sit down and like put it all together from when they were a baby growing up, so they can see that, you know. I mean, then they see stuff anyway, you know. They used to look at all the photos and everything. I used to take pictures all the time.
And this is in 1983 when I went to Senegal for the first time. And I took pictures of the city, man, and brought them back and showed them to people, and the people said, "This ain't no Africa." What the hell you mean? They expect the animals to be running down the street and all that shit. I said, man, y'all crazy.
People say a picture's worth 1,000 words. But if you don't understand the full story behind it, if you don't have those 1,000 words, you're not going to get the meaning, you know. So I think, you know, people who are big with social media, you know, not to get in the weeds with them, they could argue, well, any picture you have in your album book, I can have on my Facebook feed, and people can like it and all these things. But you know, the two things there, I think, is a disconnect with the elders, and understanding the stories and the history really of those important, you know, family pictures and those things that we like to share. And then secondly, just you spoke a little bit about just the connection that we have to our devices, that takes away, if you will, a little bit of that pure social interaction that we should have. Like you said, when somebody walks into a room, I mean, we were talking about my upbringing, you know, if an elder walked into a room when I was little, you would speak, you know, and you better be on your way, no matter what you're doing, to greet them at the door and speak. You know, they shouldn't be coming to find you in some back room playing video games or looking at television. So that was the way I was brought up, and you know, I think there is something to be said for that being missing in a lot of the culture we have now. But you know, you know, it's all things in moderation. You know, it has to be a conscious decision, I think, that people have to make on their own. I think, you know, there's a place for Facebook and Instagram, and when utilized appropriately and properly, can be great tools for exactly what we're talking about as well. But they can't be a substitute. You know, they have to be a complement to that, not a supplement. You know, so you know, I think there are probably people out there that have done a better job than myself in figuring out the use of both of them. But for myself, you know, I'm kind of old school, I guess, that way. I'd rather pick up the phone and call somebody than send them a text. You know, I'd rather go see somebody if I can than even call them. And I'm going to write you an email as a last resort. So just in the way I do my daily work. But, you know, there's a lot of people that they see it more efficient just to send the email to the guy in the cubicle next to him instead of getting up and walking around and talking to him. So
some brothers used to come down as part of the tradition of Kwanzaa we used to do every year. That's me and my daughter, my brothers and sisters. Back then, man, that's all I wore was African garb, man. That's when I was in love, too. Look at me there, boy. See, these pictures, man, and putting together this collage just kind of show some of the love I have for family, you know, and we're losing that. All of our data is being captured in telephones, and it's on Facebook, and it'll never be in this form again, man. You know, where people would take time out and put together picture books and do collages about their family. I mean, we're losing like this whole tradition.
Yeah. And my oldest daughter traveled to Switzerland with them. I've got pictures in here of her somewhere. But like I said, I stayed at the house. Tell me about Switzerland. Got another book with all her stuff. Here it is right here. This is my youngest. This is my oldest daughter. This is my oldest daughter. They were in Switzerland. Yeah, but she's 44 now, so.
Yeah, so we doing this piece on family. And what do you think about the state of the black family right now?
To be truthfully honest with you, I think like the black families, it ain't a lot of fathers out here. I think there should be more fathers in their kids' life. To be truthfully honest with you, instead of us being out here doing bad and slanging and robbing and killing and doing all that, I think we should just teach our kids to do right. You know what I mean? Like really bound them from TV, all that. Put them in them books, get them back in school. You know what I mean? From the bottom of my heart, it's so many people, so many kids, young, dying, you know what I mean? Not even my generation, the younger generation, right, out here robbing, killing, and dying for no reason, just for a rep, you know what I mean? It ain't like, I'd rather them be in school, and I'd rather them have a good education and try to do something better with their life than slinging dope.
Did you graduate from high school?
No, sir.
How old are you, Curtis?
I'm 23.
You got any brothers and sisters?
Yep, I got 3 brothers. One is deceased, and I got 2 sisters, 2 older sisters.
And where are you in there? First, in terms of age.
I am the 3rd oldest in the boys.
Your mother still living?
Yes, sir.
What about your father?
Yeah, he's still living, but I don't mess with him.
You don't have a relationship with him? Do you have any children yourself?
My son passed.
What happened?
He didn't come out stillborn.
You were stillborn? So you think that you remember back in the day, your older folks would always correct you all the time, tell you, boy, sit up, yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. What do you think ever happened to that?
I just think we stopped whooping our kids' asses for real, to be honest. I think that we really stopped because now if you hit a kid, you can get charged with abuse, you can get charged with some crazy things now if you hit your kids, you know what I mean? I think we need to take it back to where we can get them branches, like my grandma did me, and whoop that ass, you know what I mean? We be letting our kids get away with too much now.
What do you think you missed without having a father around?
I didn't miss nothing.
You don't think you miss anything?
No.
I think that the biggest problem would be there's no connection between the generations. The older people don't understand the younger people, and the younger people try to get the older people to understand, but the older people are kind of stuck in their ways, and they don't want to change. They want everything to be seen as they see it.
So how can you get older people to change?
That's not easy to answer.
Well, I think something like this is going to allow the conversation to happen, because I think that older people do not understand what's happening with younger folks, and we don't listen enough. Because there's things going on with you all that you all really, like he said about trust, don't want to share with us. And when you really would like to share that with your family. So what do you think it's going to take for us to dialogue this kind of thing like this?
That's a start. Yeah, but once, after the dialogue, there's people that still aren't going to be open to it. So there's got to be something else that happens to get a connection.
We were talking about that because in this documentary, we want to have a showing where we have young folks in the audience with older people. And I think after the documentary, we can both sit down and we can have this conversation. And I think that is one thing that we're not talking anymore. Everybody's shutting everybody out. And then everybody's running away, either doing drugs or they escape. People have more trust in friends than they have in their own family. Do you feel like that sometimes?
Most of the time for me.
Really?
But I'm one of those kids who usually writes all my feelings down in a journal or something and give it to somebody to read. So
do you do poetry?
I used to, but everything came out negative, so I stopped. It's
Okay, so what's the positive thing about family?
It's kind of hard. I guess love, because they always will love you no matter what you go through and what you do. Right. Well, not in all cases, but in most cases, because all the mistakes I made, my family still loves me like crazy.
That's beautiful. That's unconditional. What's your relationship with? You have brothers and sisters?
Yeah, that's only 2 of the 5.
Really?
We're not blood, but
Right.
nothing can make us closer.
So this is a family, but not a blood family. Wow. That's interesting. So what about your father? You have a relationship with your father?
Not a big relationship, but we talk sometimes, but that's over social media and stuff, because he lives in a different town. So I got separated from him when I was 8.
What about you?
I live with my dad, but I don't have contact with my mom.
How's your relationship with your dad?
It's closer than I would say that most people have with their father, but it's not where I want it to be. I wish I was closer with my dad.
Now, you're in high school? What high school you go to?
Northland.
What about you?
I just graduated from Northland.
Really? Are you going to college or?
Next year, maybe. I'm
What are you
going through a lot of stuff, so I can't go this year.
Are you still living with your mom? Your
Nope.
parents?
You stay with us.
So everybody's a family. And that's a good thing.
Yes.
Do you work?
Not yet. I'm about to soon.
okay.
In like a few days, probably.
What about your grandmother? Do you have a grandmother?
She lives in the same town as my dad, so Youngstown.
Youngstown?
Yep. That's where most of my family is.
What about yours?
Yeah, I live with my grandma too. Well, on my dad's side.
Oh, okay. What about your grandmother? Is she still living?
I'm not sure. She moved to Germany when I was little. She moved back to Germany when I was
Really?
little.
Do you speak in any Sprechen mit Deutsch?
No.
No.
I wish I did.
You ever thought about going to Germany? Well, that's another side of you, you know? It's not just the black side, then you have the German side. And I hear there's a huge population of African Dutch there that are pretty conscious, you know? That would probably be something to explore. What are you gonna do once you graduate high school?
I'm not sure yet. I'm most likely gonna end up going to college.
You know what college?
I want to go to Rutgers.
Really? You got good grades?
They're decent.
What are you gonna study?
I have no idea.
That's how I am. I just don't know yet.
Now, what about social media? There's a lot of people saying like phones have taken over young folks' lives today.
Yes. Not really. To me, I feel like everywhere you go, you see people on their phones, like constantly. But I'm one of those people, so I can't front. Like, even sitting in the house, I'm just constantly staring at my phone, waiting for messages and stuff.
I had a older gentleman we interviewed. He said it was a holiday season. He came into the house, and before there was phones, he would walk in the house. Everybody be glad to see Grandpa. Grandpa. He came in the house this time, and nobody ever looked up or acknowledged him. Now, how would that make you feel?
I'd feel less important. I'd be like, oh, y'all think y'all phones better than me now? I'm like, no, kids.
Now, you're going to become a grandfather maybe one of these days. Or,
hopefully.
Yeah. How would that make you feel if you were a grandfather? Now, phones probably will be totally out. You'd probably be dealing with some new technology.
Yeah, it'll be way advanced by the time I get up there.
So by the time you get to be an older person that's got grandchildren, the family structure is going to be just way out there, huh? Especially in the black family. What about marriage? Does that happen anymore?
Yeah, I'm getting married one day.
I feel like in the community, it rarely happens though. Like, just within my own family, I've never even been to a wedding at all. And I don't think anybody in my family has really been married. My uncle's engaged, but I don't know how that's going.
I've been to 2 weddings, my mom's and my aunt's. And my aunt's was a long time ago, and it was like a small wedding, so it was like in a church and everything. And then my mom's, it just happened like last year, and I think July. So, and yeah, I'm getting married. I already claim myself as being married. I do, so that'll happen to me one day.
So if you had to say something positive about the family, what would you say?
About what family?
About any family. About the black family or the state of the black family. What would you have to say about it? Positive state of the black family.
I don't know.
What about the negative?
I don't have anything negative.
You don't have anything negative? You don't have anything positive either? What about you?
I think that if we could work on getting the generations connected, families in general will be a lot more successful. But when families are successful, it's just ultimate feelings of positivity come from it. Like, there's so much support and love and all types of stuff like that when families do work.
It must be clear by now that something is happening, 'cause we know that it's time that we all be one mind again. Sitting in hospitals, sucking down pills, trying not to hear what the ancestors will, trying hard as we can to resist their demands to change. The time has come for us to come together lie to ourselves as we rise in prosperity. And the cloud of witnesses teach through meditation their way. And if you listen carefully, you can hear them say, the time has come for us to come together, together.